Good morning. Today we'll be discussing code switching in professional environments. My name is Wenderline Castin, and I'm going to be presenting this topic.
Mhm.
We're going to talk about what code switching is and why Black professionals code switch in the workplace environment. We're going to educate the audience on the dynamics of code switching in professional settings, and we're going to raise awareness about the pressures that Black professionals feel the need to adjust their speech, behavior, and appearance in order to fit into corporate culture. Imagine constantly monitoring how you act and how you look in order to be seen as professional. This is the reality of Black professionals. They code switch in professional settings to avoid negative stereotyping to protect their professional advancements, which can lead to psychological distress. I have researched this topic using many reputable resources, personal stories, and statistical data to understand how code switching impacts Black professionals' identities and well-being. Understanding code switching helps us become better advocates for inclusion and more empathetic coworkers. So, what is code switching and how does it manifest? Code switching is defined as altering your speech, your appearance, and your behavior and expression to meet other people's comfort or expectations. For Black professionals, this looks like switching from African American vernacular English to standard English. This means adjusting your body language to be seen as less of a threat or less aggressive, or avoid doing specific hairstyles or clothing that are deemed unprofessional or unkempt. And this leads to an individual just becoming more aware of how they present themselves to the point where they essentially create a new persona of themselves, which can happen at all levels, actually. So in 2013, President Barack Obama visited the US Olympic basketball team, where there's a notable difference between how he shakes the hands of the white coaches versus the Black coaches and the Black players. And this interaction, while it does have many underlying racial elements to it, the point of the matter is that Black professionals are expected to code switch to seem professional in white settings, but relatable within their own community. And this is kind of how we do it through nonverbal forms. Barack Obama's behavior subtly reflects why Black professionals adjust their behavior based on who they're with. And so this brings about the importance of acts like the Crown Act. This law was passed to prevent race-based hair discrimination in employment and educational opportunities. It was created in 2019 and is till this day passed in only 27 out of the 50 states and they're actively fighting for this law to be passed everywhere. Hair is a form of expression for identity and culture within the Black community. Yeah, in so many professional settings, Black hairstyles such as locks, braids, afros, and twists are deemed as unprofessional and unkempt. And the Crown Act has made it so Black people who have felt the need to shelter themselves physically no longer need to do so. The constant self-restraint, self-monitoring, and adaptation can be mentally draining. And over time, the emotional labor of sheltering yourself, not just from work, but from an effort to maintain a version of yourself that is not true to you and acceptable to others, is overwhelming. And knowing all this, why do Black professionals still continue to code switch, you might ask? Well, for survival, it is easy to scream protest or speak out, but when you're used to your voice not being heard, it's easier to simply conform to what you know. So, looking at this study from Jeff Gillis and Mike Simpson, they took roughly over 1,000 employed individuals of different races and orientations, of course. And they analyzed the concept of code switching across different channels. And through the research, they found that 56 of Black professionals code switched at work due to feeling more respected by their supervisors. This in turn creates more job satisfaction and opportunities for advancement for them. In some cases, respect in the workplace isn't based on skill, but on conformity to cultural norms. As a result, Black professionals continue to engage in code switching, regardless of how degrading or emotionally taxing it is, in order to be accepted. And there's a stereotype that, people who don't speak standard English as a first language are less intelligent than those who do. But that is 100% not true at all. This stereotype seems to mostly impact Black and brown people and immigrants, and which causes people to stray away from their own culture and lean towards more American culture, which creates imposter syndrome, basically. So the concept of imposter syndrome is a psychological pattern where individuals doubt their own accomplishments and fear being accused of fraud. This syndrome makes you feel like you don't belong where you are and causes a psychological split between who you are and who you are pretending to be. Over time, this leads to burnout when Black professionals conform. This can look like a good employee suddenly having a lower work performance, a lower sense of accomplishment, taking longer to do tasks that they never used to struggle with, becoming more irritable, and overall emotionally detached from the team. And engaging in code switching means putting up these barriers when you know you don't want to. And you are doing so because you don't want to reveal certain parts of yourself to avoid judgment, basically. And I ask, like, how do you truly know your coworkers? However, in emotionally charged environments, your true self eventually does come out. And the best example of this is a own personal statement by Chanel Cathy. She is the founder and the CEO of CJC Insights, a communications agency that she created herself in 2013 after her own experience with code switching in workplace environments. And in this article, in this POV article, actually, she documents her experience with conforming to workplace culture as a Black woman. She details situations where she had the supervisor berate her and how she had to compare her feelings to white individuals in order for her feelings to be seen as valid. And she was constantly on her guard at this environment because of the way she was being treated. Her own personal struggles mimics the everyday realities Black professionals face. They are pressured to fit in and forced to silence when faced with biased information in order to be seen as keeping the peace, in order to not be seen as threatening. So how can we shift this narrative and create spaces where code switching isn't exactly necessary anymore? The best way to do that is by understanding that while code switching can help Black professionals succeed in the workplace, it becomes added pressure to adapt, which affects one's sense of identity, basically. If code switching just makes you create a whole new version of yourself rather than a more professional version of yourself, that is unacceptable. It is a means to an end for Black professionals to get their foot in the door when all odds are against them. And where other individuals can be themselves and succeed, Black professionals are forced to put on a face to be taken seriously. Presenting one version of yourself at work and another version of yourself in your own personal life becomes maddening when you wish to just be yourself at all times. So understanding the why and the how behind code switching makes it easier to recognize the invisible pressures that shape professional behavior. Raising awareness is a step forward to building environments where respect does not require erasing identity. So I leave you with this. What does it say about our society that authenticity is a liability instead of a strength? Thank you for listening to this, and I hope you found this information informative. And these are all my resources in case that you would like to check them out. Thank you.